The December wind swept through the streets of Boston with a biting force that made even the toughest city dwellers wince. Lucas Cooper pulled his yellow wool coat tighter around himself and glanced down at his daughter, Isabella, walking beside him. She was bundled in her pink puffer coat, its fluffy pom-pom bouncing gently with every step she took. Before we continue, let us know where in the world you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories reach. "Oh, Daddy," she said, her small voice puffing little clouds into the icy air. "I know, sweetheart. We're almost to the car," he replied softly. Lucius was exhausted. Christmas week had begun, and he had just wrapped up a marathon board meeting, one that dragged on 3 hours longer than planned. As the CEO of Cooper Industries, a manufacturing company his father had built from the ground up, he carried a weight of responsibilities that often felt overwhelming, but the weight he carried most heavily was the one that came with being a widowed father. His wife, Monica, died 2 years ago in a car accident, sudden senseless, leaving him alone with 4-year-old Isabella and an infant son, baby James. In the terrible months that followed, Lucas had learned to function on little sleep, to comfort a grieving child while drowning in his own grief, 2 warm bottles at 3 in the morning while reviewing contracts, to be both mother and father when he barely knew how to be either without Monica beside him. Today had been particularly grueling. The nanny had called in sick, so Lucas had brought both children to the office. Isabella had been wonderful, coloring quietly in the corner of the conference room, but James had been fussy all day, crying through most of the meeting. Lucas's assistant had finally taken the baby for a walk around the building, which had helped, but Lucas knew he was at the end of his rope. Now, at 6 in the evening, with darkness already settled over the city and snow beginning to fall, all he wanted was to get home, feed his children, and collapse. "Can we walk through the park, Daddy?" Isabella asked, pointing toward the small urban park that separated his office building from the parking garage. "Please, just for a minute." Lucas checked his watch. James was asleep in the carrier strapped to his chest, a small, warm bundle against his heart. Isabella had been so patient all day. 5 minutes wouldn't hurt, just a quick walk, he agreed. "Then we need to get home for dinner." They entered the park, following the path that wound between bare trees and patches of snow-covered grass. The old-fashioned street lamps were just flickering on, casting pools of yellow light. The park was mostly empty. People had hurried home to escape the cold. That's when Isabella stopped walking. "Daddy," she said, her voice suddenly different, not whining or playful, but serious. Lucas followed her gaze to a bench about 20 feet away. At first, he almost missed her. She sat so still she might have been part of the landscape, but then he saw a young woman, maybe 25, sitting on the cold bench. She wore a thin gray sweater that had seen better days, and a worn coat that didn't look warm enough for this weather. Her blonde hair hung limply around her face, and, in her arms, wrapped in what looked like a threadbare blanket, was an infant. Lucas's heart clenched. He'd seen homeless people before, of course. Boston had plenty. But somehow, seeing a mother with a baby on a night this cold hit him differently. Maybe it was because James was warm and safe against his chest, and he couldn't help but imagine what it would be like if circumstances were different. Isabella was already walking toward the bench before Lucas could stop her. Isabella, wait, but his daughter didn't wait. She approached the bench with the fearless compassion that children sometimes possess before the world teaches them to be careful, to look away, to protect themselves from other people's pain. "Cliffsallow," Isabella said, stopping a few feet. From the bench, the woman's head jerked up, startled. Her face was thin and pale, her eyes hollow with exhaustion and something that looked like despair. But when she saw Isabella, something softened in her expression. "Hello," she said quietly. Her voice was hoarse, as if from crying or cold or both. Lucas caught up to Isabella, one hand resting protectively on his daughter's shoulder. "I'm sorry," he said to the woman. "My daughter is very friendly." "It's all right," the woman managed, a small smile appearing as she looked at Isabella. "She's beautiful." Isabella tilted her head, studying the woman with the frank curiosity of childhood. Then, her gaze dropped to the bundle in the woman's arms. "Is that your baby?" "Yes, this is Hope. She's 3 months old." As if on cue, the blanket shifted, and Lucas caught a glimpse of a tiny face, red and scrunched, followed by a thin, plaintive cry. The woman immediately began rocking the baby, making soft shushing sounds, but the cries grew louder. Isabella eyes widened with concern. "Daddy," she said, looking up at him with an expression that broke his heart. "Her baby is freezing." Lucas looked at the woman. Lily looked at her and saw that Isabella was right. The woman was shivering. Her lips had a bluish tinge, and the baby's cries had that sharp, distressed quality that Lucas recognized from his own children, the cry that said something was wrong, that basic needs weren't being met. A woman saw him looking and her face flushed with shame. "We're okay," she said, but her voice cracked. "We're fine. We're just resting." "Ma'am," Lucas said gently, "it's 20 degrees out here. You can't stay on this bench." No, I needed to sit for a minute. We'll figure something out." The baby's cries grew more insistent, and the woman's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hope I'm trying." Isabella tugged on Lucas's coat. When he looked down, his daughter's face was set with determination.
"Daddy!"
"We have to help them. We have to take them somewhere warm. The baby is crying like James does when he's cold." Lucas's mind raced. Every instinct he had as a father told him to protect his own children, to be careful, to not get involved. But every instinct he had as a human being told him he couldn't walk away from a mother and infant on a freezing bench. And Isabella was right. The baby was freezing. He crouched down so he was at the woman's eye level. "My name is Lucas. This is my daughter, Isabella. And this little guy sleeping on my chest is James. We'd like to help you. Please, let me at least get you somewhere warm." The woman stared at him, and he saw her internal struggle play out across her face, pride warring with desperation, fear warring with hope. I can't." She looked down at her crying baby, and that seemed to decide it. "Don't know what to do anymore," she whispered. "I don't know how to fix this. What's your name?" Lucas asked. "Lauren. Lauren Mitchell." "Lauren," he repeated gently. "I have a car in the garage 2 blocks away. It's warm. We can sit there and figure out what to do next. Will you let me help you? Please." Isabella, without waiting for an answer, was already unwinding the red knit scarf from around her own neck. "Here," she said, holding it out to Lauren. "For the baby. It's really warm. My grandma made it." Lauren stared at the scarf, then at this little girl with her generous heart, and tears spilled over, running down her cheeks. "I can't take your scarf, sweetheart, but the baby needs it," Isabella said simply, as if this were the most obvious thing in the world. "Please, it'll help." With shaking hands, Lauren took the scarf. She wrapped it carefully around baby Hope, tucking it around the inadequate blanket, and the bright red wool looked shocking against the gray and brown of their clothing. The baby's cries quieted slightly more from the attention than the warmth, but it was something. "Thank you," Lauren whispered. "Thank you so much." Lucas stood and extended his hand to help Lauren up. She took it, and he felt how cold her fingers were, how thin her hand felt in his. She rose unsteadily, clutching Hope against her chest, and Lucas saw her sway slightly. "When did you last eat?" he asked quietly. Lauren didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Okay," Lucas said, making another quick decision. "First, we get you warm, then we get you both fed, then we figure out the rest, one step at a time." They walked together through the park toward the parking garage. Isabella stayed close to Lauren, occasionally reaching up to gently touch the red scarf wrapped around baby Hope. Lucas carried James, still sleeping peacefully, warm and safe in his carrier, and he sent up a silent prayer of gratitude that his son would never know what it was like to be cold and hungry and homeless in the parking garage. Lucas unlocked his SUV and turned on the engine, cranking the heat up as high as it would go. He helped Lauren into the back seat, and Isabella climbed in beside her, immediately fascinated by baby Hope. "Can I hold her?" Isabella asked. Lauren looked uncertain. "She's very fussy right now." "That's okay. I'm good with babies. I help Daddy with James all the time." Lucas watched as Lauren, with obvious reluctance born of protectiveness rather than distrust, he carefully transferred baby Hope into Isabella's small arms. His daughter cradled the infant with surprising gentleness, supporting the head just like Lucas had taught her, and began humming softly, the same lullaby Monica used to sing. The baby quieted, perhaps responding to Isabella's calm confidence, or perhaps just too exhausted to cry anymore. Lucas sat in the driver's seat and turned to face Lauren. "Tell me what you need. Food, shelter, medical care." Lauren's face crumpled. "All of it, everything. I need everything, and I don't know how to get any of it." She took a shuddering breath. "I'm sorry. You don't need to hear this. You've already done so much just by getting us warm." "I want to hear it," Lucas said gently. If you're comfortable sharing. So Lauren told her story. Her voice was halting at first, then stronger, as if she were releasing words that had been dammed up inside her for too long. She'd been a nursing student, 2 years into her degree, with a part-time job at a hospital and plans for a good future. Then she'd gotten pregnant. The father, a fellow student she'd been dating, had wanted nothing to do with the baby. He'd broken up with her immediately and transferred to a school in another state. Lauren had tried to continue with school while pregnant, but morning sickness had been severe. She'd missed too many classes and fallen behind. Her job had let her go and she couldn't keep up with the physical demands while pregnant. Her parents, deeply religious and ashamed of her unwed pregnancy, had told her she wasn't welcome home until she got her life together. She'd had hope in September. The hospital staff had been kind, keeping them an extra day because Lauren had nowhere to go. A social worker had helped her get into a shelter, but space was limited and the rules were strict. When Hope had cried through the night, disturbing other residents, they'd been asked to leave. I thought I could figure it out, Lauren said, her voice breaking. I applied for every job I could find, but who wants to hire someone with a newborn and no childcare? I stayed with a friend for a few weeks, but her landlord found out and threatened to evict her if I didn't leave. I've been staying wherever we can. Bus stations, all-night diners if I have enough money for coffee, park benches when it's not too cold. She looked down at Hope, now resting quietly in Isabella's arms. It's gotten so cold, and Hope is so little I can't. I don't know how to keep her safe anymore. Lucas felt rage and helplessness surge through him. How was this possible? How could a mother and infant end up on the streets with no safety net, no support, no way out? You have formula. Diapers, he asked. I have 5 diapers left in my backpack. No formula. I've been breastfeeding, but I don't think I'm making enough milk anymore. I don't eat enough too. She trailed off, shame coloring her face again. Lucas pulled out his phone. I'm going to make some calls. We're going to fix this. You can't fix this, Lauren said. But there was a thread of hope in her voice. I've tried everything. The system is overwhelmed. The waiting lists for housing assistance are months long. The shelters are full. I've been to every church, every charity. They all try, but there's nothing available. Then we'll make something available, Lucas said firmly. He was already scrolling through his contacts, his mind working through problems the way he did in business, identifying needs, finding resources, creating solutions. He made the first call to his assistant, Patricia, apologizing for the evening interruption, but asking her to research emergency housing options and family shelters with availability. Then he called his lawyer, Greg, who specialized in family law, and asked about emergency custody protocols and what resources were available for mothers in crisis. While he made calls, Isabella kept baby Hope entertained, singing softly and making gentle faces. Lauren watched with an expression of wonder, as if she couldn't quite believe what was happening. After 20 minutes of calls, Lucas had a plan. Okay, he said, turning back to face Lauren. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to go to the store and get everything Hope needs. Formula, diapers, wipes, clothes. Then we're going to get food for you. Real food. As much as you can eat. He paused. Then I'd like you to come to my house. Just for tonight. You need a safe, warm place to sleep, and Hope needs to be somewhere stable. My house has plenty of room. Tomorrow we'll figure out longer-term solutions. Lauren was shaking her head before he finished. I can't impose on your family like that. You've done so much already. It's not an imposition if we're offering, Lucas said. And honestly, Lauren, I can't let you go back out into the cold. I'm a father. I understand what it means to be responsible for a child. Right now, you need help, and I can provide it. Please let me do this, but you don't know me. Akavi. Anyone. Lucas met her eyes steadily. You're a mother who's trying to take care of her baby under impossible circumstances. That's all I need to know. Isabella piped up from the back seat. Please, come home with us. You can sleep in the guest room. It has a really soft bed, and there's a bathroom right next door. And tomorrow, Daddy makes really good pancakes. Lauren looked at her baby, now sleeping peacefully in Isabella's arms, wrapped in the red scarf that a kind child had given her. She looked at Lucas, at the sincerity in his face, and she made a choice. Okay, she whispered. Okay, just for tonight. Thank you. They drove to a 24-hour pharmacy first. Lucas gave Lauren his credit card and told her to get whatever Hope needed. Lauren protested, but Lucas insisted. and finally she went inside with a list and tears in her eyes. She came back with bags full of formula, diapers, baby clothes, wipes, blankets, and bottles. I kept it as reasonable as I could, she said apologetically. Lauren, reasonable doesn't matter. Get what you need. Get what Hope needs. They stopped next at a restaurant with takeout service. Lucas ordered enough food for an army hot soup, sandwiches, pasta, salad, everything he could think of that would be nourishing. While they waited for the order, he ran into the attached grocery store and came back with more supplies: bread, milk, cereal, fruit, protein bars. You don't have to do all this, Lauren said, for the 10th time. I know, Lucas replied. I want to. The drive to Lucas's house in the suburbs took 30 minutes. Lorian sat in the back with Isabella, who was still holding Hope, and looked out the window at the neighborhood's passing by decorated houses, with lights and wreaths, families, visible through windows. The whole Christmas season on display. I haven't celebrated Christmas in 3 years, she said quietly. Not since my parents. Not since things fell apart. Well, Isabella announced, you can celebrate with us. We have a big tree and cookies. Daddy makes the best cookies. Lucas's house appeared at the end of a quiet streeter, 2-story colonial with white trim and a front porch. Tasteful holiday decorations, lights along the roofline, nothing ostentatious, but comfortable. A home dot inside. Warmth enveloped them immediately. Lucas kept the house at a comfortable temperature, despite the cost, wanting James and Isabella to always be warm. Now he was grateful for it. Let me show you the guest room, Lucas said, leading Lauren upstairs. The room was clean and neutral, with a queen bed dresser, an attached bathroom. There are fresh towels in the bathroom, Lucas said. Please, make yourself at home. Take a shower if you'd like. There's a bassinet in the closet from when James was smaller. We can set it up for Hope. Lauren stood in the doorway holding her baby, and tears ran down her face again. I don't know how to thank you. This is too much. It's not too much. It's exactly right, Lucas said. He set up the bassinet, while Isabella helped Lauren arrange the new baby supplies on the dresser. When Hope was settled and sleeping peacefully, Lucas left Lauren alone to shower and rest, with instructions to come downstairs whenever she was ready for food. An hour later, Lauren appeared in the kitchen. She'd showered, her hair was clean and pulled back, and she wore fresh clothes from the bag of emergency supplies Lucas had insisted on buying. She looked younger, less burdened, though the exhaustion was still there in her eyes. Lucas had heated up the takeout food and laid everything out on the kitchen table. Sit, he said simply. Eat whatever you want. Lauren sat and began eating slowly at first, as if she'd forgotten how. Then hunger took over, and she ate with the desperate efficiency of someone who hadn't had a real meal in too long. Lucas and Isabella ate with her, keeping her company, and Lucas watched as color gradually returned to Lauren's face. After dinner, they sat in the living room. James had woken up and needed attention, so Lucas fed him a bottle, while Lauren held Hope, who was feeding peacefully for the first time and who knew how long. I feel like I'm dreaming, Lauren said softly. Like I'm going to wake up on that bench, and none of this will have happened. It's real, Lucas assured her. And tomorrow we're going to start working on real solutions. I've already been in touch with some people. There are options we can explore. Why are you doing this? Lauren asked. Really? You could have walked past us in the park. Most people do. Why did you stop? Lucas looked at Isabella, who was sitting on the floor playing with her dollhouse. "'Cause my daughter saw you," he said, "and she didn't see a homeless person or a problem or someone to be afraid of. She saw a mother and a baby who needed help. Sometimes children see the truth more clearly than adults do." He paused, then added, "And because 2 years ago I lost my wife, I know what it's like to feel like the world has ended. I know what it's like to not know how you're going to get through the next day, let alone the next year. People helped me, family, friends, even strangers. They showed up with meals and childcare and patience. They helped me survive. So now I help when I can. It's the only way the world works. We catch each other when we fall." Lauren nodded, understanding, passing between them. At night, Lauren and Hope slept in the guest room, warm and safe, for the first time in months. Lucas lay awake in his own bed, thinking about the day, about the woman and baby now sleeping under his roof, about Isabella's immediate compassion, and about James,